What we've seen since actually we launched our website is that we've increased our audience size and we've increased the engagement with our content. So we're really focused on engagement just as a strategy, and that's engagement's kind of an overused term, so let me just kind of clarify what I mean by engagement, or what we mean by engagement. Really what it is because we produce so much content on any given day, it's really an ability for us to enable our users a way to find the content that's most relevant to them. We understand that not everything we produce they're going to be able to consume, so it's really a way to sift through that. The newspaper, just starting with that as an organizing principle, is a great way to read. You know, you have a section organization, you know exactly what you're looking for and you can find it. There's also sometimes a wonderful serendipity that occurs in the newspaper. You know, digital, the web, the apps are a little less mature. They're wonderful in their own right, but there's still a lot of experimentation going on in terms of the interfaces and making sure that users can find what they want. So we're really focused on that. We're especially focused on it now that we've launched our digital subscription plan. So it is, you know, clearly an area of focus. We're doing a lot of things in this area. The first is on the product development front. Like many others, there's a lot of new devices out there that are capturing people's attention, and so we've developed products for all of those devices. Our most successful ones are our iPhone and iPad apps. On our iPhone app, we have close to 7 million downloads of the app, and on the iPad app, we have 2 million downloads of the app. And what's interesting on the iPad is, I think when it first came out, people were worried that it might cannibalize news consumption, but what we've heard in the research and what we've actually seen with our own user base is that users use the device. It's one of the top 5 things that users use the device for, is to find news and information. We did a survey of our users back in February, and we asked them, are you consuming more, less, or the same amount of content now that you have an iPad device? And we were actually surprised to learn 70% of them told us that they were consuming more content since they got their device. So we think that's pretty interesting, and clearly users are finding more time in their day to engage with our content. So we're very actively focused on building out products for these devices. The second thing we're doing is we're enhancing features and functionality of our current products and services. So just a couple of examples in that regard. A couple of months ago, we launched a recommendation engine. Now, recommendation engines may not sound like they're groundbreaking. I mean, Amazon and iTunes have had theirs around for a while. They're, you know, best in class. They work really well. But what's challenging is for a news organization, since our content is much more perishable than a book or a song, it creates an interesting programming and engineering challenge to figure out how to build a recommendation engine. Thankfully, we've got some crack engineers on staff. They've been able to crack that code, so to speak, and we launched the recommendation engine a couple of months ago. We're seeing fantastic engagement with that product. We had, just in the month of April, we had close to 6 million clicks on the module and 17 million post-click page views. So people are really finding it a very useful tool to surface content that is important to them. On that same vein, we launched something, I think this was about a year ago, we launched what we call the fly-in box. So if you're in a section, you're reading an article, and you get to the end of the article, you have a box that flies in, and it actually surfaces the next piece of content in that particular section. And we've seen a lot of great engagement with that as well. We're also really focused on community. We've got a really smart, really well-informed audience, and we think that it's very, very important that we give them the tools to communicate with each other on our site, make the New York Times site the water cooler, if you will, and the place where people can gather and have that conversation in the digital sense. And so we're doing a lot of things in the community space. We've recently expanded commenting on the site. Like many others, we launched the Facebook Connect module because we think that real identity is critical to having a more intelligent conversation on the site than the anonymous identity. So that's been extremely successful for us. In terms of, let's see, marketing. I mean, we've got 1.3 million Facebook fans. We've got over 3 million followers of just our main news feed on Twitter. So we're really active in terms of ensuring that those audiences know what kind of content we're producing, and they're able to interact with it on, you know, on their time frame. So social media is obviously very important. And finally, advertising. I mean, all of what I just spoke about is really good for our users. It gives them an opportunity to find stuff that's really important to them, and it helps them engage even more deeply with our content. Engagement's good for advertisers too, though, and one of the examples that I have, probably our most recent best example, is a program that we did with Lincoln. When we launched our digital subscription plan, we offered an advertiser the exclusive opportunity to provide heavily engaged users of our website free access to our basic digital tier. Lincoln was the sponsor of this offer, so a little over 100,000 users were identified as very loyal and very heavily engaged with the site, and 200,000 folks received the offer. The first 100,000 who opted in were eligible. And Lincoln is thrilled with the program. The users were thrilled with the program. They felt, you know, wonderful to be validated by the New York Times as a heavy user, as a loyal user. Lincoln's brand lift with that group of folks was really off the charts. So everybody was very, very pleased. So I think for us, engagement is just, it's a strategic weapon. It's good for our users. It's good for our advertisers. It's ultimately going to be really good for our business.